Hey, it's Nate, and today I'm doing Linger by the Cranberries. Such a great song, and I've gotten a ton of requests for it. Aside from the intro and the outro, you're essentially just playing the same 4 chords the whole way. There's no piano on the original recording, but the song translates nicely to piano, and I will give you a few different rhythm options so you can really make it your own. Let's jump in. All right, so first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description, and that's going to help you follow along and see where the chords and the lyrics line up with each other. Here's what I'm going to do. The song starts with an intro and an instrumental section before we get into the verse, but I'm going to start by teaching the verse because that's the main chord progression. And once we've done that, it'll be a little bit easier to go back in through the intro and see how it connects in because it's a little bit weird. Here are the chords to the verse. It's also going to be the same chords for the chorus, but we've got a D major chord. We're doing an inversion on this. We are playing a D bass note here with our left hand first finger, and then I've got A, D, and F sharp here. This is middle C, by the way, just to make sure you're playing in the right octave. And that's for 2 measures. And then we've got A6. Now this is very convenient. I'm doing the same outside notes with the right hand, but of course I'm coming down to an A bass note here, 4th finger, and using my 2nd finger on a C sharp there. We're also going to need a C add 9 or C add 2. Looks like that. We've got a C, E, G, and we're adding that D with our 2nd finger. I'm using my 2nd finger in the left hand for the bass note. And then finally, we've got a G major, and this helps it transition smoothly to use this inversion where we keep our 5th finger on the G up top. Then we've got B and D with 1st and 2nd finger. And of course, I'm coming down to a G bass note with my 5th finger in the left hand. And I'm in 4/4 time, so each of these measures gets 4 counts. There's 2 of them for each of the chords. Just for starters, and this is an easy option if this works the best for you to play and sing it, would just be to do quarter notes in the right hand. So stepping through this whole progression, I'll sing it down an octave because it's a little easier for my voice. 1, 2, 3. If you could return, don't let it burn, don't let it fade. I'm sure it might be rude, but it's just your attitude. It's tearing me apart. It's ruining everything. And then it would just go on to, there's a second verse on I swore, but that's the same thing, it's just the words are different. So you could totally take that rhythm approach for the whole song if that is easiest for you. I'm going to do something a little bit trickier, but I think it sounds really good, and I am going to be thinking in 8th notes, so dividing the beat in half, not just thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, putting little ands in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the main hits I'm going to be doing are on beat 1 and the and after 2, and I'm going to hit both hands together on that. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. You could just loop it on one chord or just try it on the whole progression if you are getting the hang of it. 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And then just to give it a little bit more energy, I'm also going to be playing a lot on beat 4, but just with the right hand. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. I did the wrong inversion of D there. And you could even do a little bit of the 8th notes on the and 4 and if you want to rock back and forth with the left hand. I'm just going to play it loose and kind of let it ride with the energy of the song as it goes on. Okay, I know this order is kind of strange, but now let's go back to the intro and we'll take it up from the intro to the verse. The intro is going to sound like this. Got the notes here on the screen. It's G, D, F sharp over and over again. Well, 4 times of that. And then the only difference is we go to A at the beginning instead of G for another group of 4. If it's easier for you to just do left, right, right, left, right, right, you could totally do that. But I'm just going to be using one hand. And the rhythm there, once again, we're using the 8th notes, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Sounds really nice. So Here's where it gets really weird. The recording does something that I've never really heard before. It's very strange, but it goes through the intro, as I just showed you, with the G to the A 4 times, and then it kind of starts what would be another pass through the intro, where you go back down to the G. But the band starts fading in from the beginning of like a verse progression on the D, but you can hardly hear it. And then when we would get to the part of the arpeggio where we're back to the A, that's where we hit the third measure or the first measure of the A6 chord, and that's where it feels like the band kicks in. So there's like this crossfade happening. You could play it a lot of different ways, but I think what I'll do is I'm going to, after 4 times through the intro, I'm going to go back to G, D, F sharp one more time, and then start the progression from that third chord, the A6. And that's the start of the instrumental section that has that really beautiful strings melody, which I'll show you how to play. So here are the chords to the instrumental section. So it just, we'll say it starts with the A6 and doesn't include the Ds that the recording is fading up on. So I'm gonna do a couple of different details here. When you first hear it come in, we hear this little rhythm there on the A6 coming down to just the A major triad. 1E and a 2E and a 3, 4 on 16th notes. So you can throw that in if you want. 1, 2, Okay, so we've got that nice melody there, and I was voicing it, adding some bits of the chords, but let's strip it down to the actual melody itself. So here are the notes for that. So when you're on the A6 chord, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on F, G. The left hand's gonna go to the C bass note, and we've got A, G, F sharp, G, and those are pretty quick. 1E and a 2. So using 16th notes. 3, 4, da 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 da, and then this last little bit of melody is da 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 da. Rhythmically, that's 3E and a 4E and then you go down to the G bass note. We do that whole thing slowly one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1E and a 2, 3, 4. 1E and a 2, 3E and a 4E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. So from there, if you want to spice it up a little bit, we can add the left hand rhythm we were doing for the verse, the 2 and 3, 4. So you can try coordinating that in there. And then the other thing I'm going to do is just keep in mind the underlying chord when these melodies are happening. So with the C add 9 chord, it's hard to voice the melody while also doing all 3 of those notes, so I'll just leave the D out of it. But just when you kind of hit the melody at the start, you can just do the bottom 2 notes. It just harmonizes it, makes it sound more full. And then when you come down to the ba-da-da-da-da, you can use that lower note from that G chord. And that would be going into the verse. I know that all got a little bit confusing. I am going to play through the whole intro into the instrumental into the first verse so you can see how that all flows. So that's 1 time through. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2. 2 times through. So this is the 4th time. And then I'm just gonna go down and do the first half, just the G's. If you could return, don't let it burn, and then so on. So let's talk about the chorus now. Here are the chords to the chorus. It's the same as the verse. So the only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to work in some octaves in the left hand, just so it feels like the chorus has a little bit more power than the verses. And there's two ways you could do that. One would be to just hop octaves the whole time. So, but I'm in so deep, you know I'm such a fool for you. You got me wrapped around your finger. Do you have to let it linger? Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger? And when I go to that chord, that final D, that is also the first chord of the next verse. Notice I'm doing a little bit of just rocking around in the left hand on those chords, on some of those eighth notes, just keeping it loose. The other thing you could do would be to do octaves for the D and the C, but when it gets really low for those, you could just use single bass notes, and that flows really nicely with a D like that. And then your second finger is all ready to do a single bass note there. Then you can flow really nicely to octaves on that, and then use your second finger for the G. So that's also a good option. When this song was a hit on the radio back when I was a little kid, my brother was convinced the lyrics were, you know, I'm searching food for you, whatever that meant. And that was, of course, back before you could look up lyrics on the internet, so I have this memory of my family sitting around on the porch having dinner and arguing about it. He was wrong. So we've already learned just about everything we need for this song. After that chorus, there's another verse. I'm just going to go back to the single bass notes for that. The vocal melody is a little different in the first part of that verse, but the piano can be the same. Then we have another chorus, and then we have another instrumental section. This one is going to be very similar to what we had right after the intro, but we do start at the beginning of the chord progression on the D. And you could do octaves for this section too if you wanted to sound a little bit more. So one difference here is it does some extra of the ba-da-da-da-da ending on D. I think that's totally optional, but as the song goes on and they do different instrumental sections, the strings do a little bit more each time. So you can just listen to the recording if you want to mimic that. And then we have another final chorus, and that final chorus is a double chorus. You'll see that on your chords and lyrics chart. Then we have yet again one more instrumental section, and again there's some extra of that final melody if you want to throw those in. And then we have the outro. It's on your chords and lyrics chart just as 6 measures of D like that, and you can totally just hang out on D like that for 6 measures as the song winds to a close. But there's this cool arpeggio we can do in the right hand. It's going to sound like this. So we're just going back and forth between really the two shapes we did for the intro. It's like a D major inversion, and then just moving this down to G for the bottom note. So it's like a D7. We're doing the left hand Ds. And we're going back and forth, just one measure with the A at the bottom, one measure with the G at the bottom. And we're going to play on every single eighth note, and the pattern is going to be starting at the bottom, going to the top, and then just circling around, top, middle, bottom. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so the last note of the measure, you're going to end up at the top again. And then when you switch to the other one, so this time with the G at the bottom, it just kind of resets and starts at the bottom again. And then on the left hand, I'm going to just keep doing the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Those should line up with the lowest note in the right hand arpeggio if you're doing it right. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you can also play on beat 4 with the left hand. And then after 6 times through that, you can just end like that. let it ring out, and then the song is over. All right, thank you for sticking with me. I am now going to do a full cover so you can see how everything fits together in the full thing. I am gonna definitely sing at least the chorus an octave lower, just so it fits my voice better, but this is the original key, and you can sing it in her register if that works for you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this one. Okay, here's my version of Linger. If you could return, don't let it burn, don't let it fade. I'm sure I might be rude, but it's just your attitude. It's tearing me apart, it's ruining everything. And I swore I would be true, and honey, so did you. So why were you holding her hand? Is that the way we stand? Were you lying all the time? Was it just a game to you? But I'm in so deep. You know I'm such a fool for you. You got me wrapped around your finger. Do you have to let it linger? Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger? Oh, I thought the world of you. I thought nothing could go wrong. But I was wrong. I was wrong. If you could